Before we begin, if you like what you hear on the Tan and J-Man Show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and go ahead and click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We encourage you to interact with us and keep up to date with the Tan and J-Man Show on social media by liking our Facebook page and following us on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show with your hosts Tanner Lee and Josh the J-Man Munt. Welcome back, Tan and J-Man Show Nation, to another edition of the Tan and J-Man Show. We are back live on the ISC Sports Network this week. We apologize. Last week we had some technical difficulties, but those have been figured out, as you can see right now. And thanks for inviting us into your home, into your car, into your phone, wherever you're watching or listening to the Tan and J-Man Show at. I'm Tanner Lee. Josh the J-Man Munt's on the phone. What's going on, J-Man?
How you doing, you son of a gun?
Well, we're hanging in there.
Yes, sir.
This is week 6 of a quarantined edition of the Tan and J-Man Show. So,
fun.
Do anything exciting the past week? Learn anything new? Watch any new movies, new shows? Read any new books?
I watched a lot of the NFL draft.
I watched almost every pick. I missed maybe 4 or 5 picks.
I did not watch every single pick. But I did watch a majority on Thursday and Friday. Saturday, I just kind of had it on in the background.
Highest viewed draft ever.
Yeah. How many millions was it? I know Thursday night was like 6.
I don't know combined how many millions. I saw it yesterday, and I should have took note of it, but I didn't. But what did you think of the presentation and everything?
I thought it went over really well. I was kind of hoping for some chaos and internet issues with teams and stuff. But I thought it went on without a hitch. I thought it went pretty well.
I thought it was pretty neat to see the GMs and everything and the owners and everything with their families and the coaches.
Yeah, it kind of humanized them all.
Yeah, which is nice to see.
In a way, yeah. And I know at least Brian Flores, head coach of the Dolphins, said this is the first time in the spring he's been able to spend time with his family, and he really enjoyed it. I know a lot of coaches have said that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that more come draft time, where guys are kind of doing meetings at their home and spending more time with their family. So it could end up changing the draft completely.
Yeah, and what do you think about – I was thinking about this today. What if they did the first round like they used to, or like every other year has been, but then the rest of the round's virtual?
That'll be interesting.
I don't know if they could do that. That'd be a lot of setup, draft-wise and everything, but I don't know if that'd be possible.
No,
especially since they have the draft on a rotating destination every year. That probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, because, I mean, people kind of make a whole weekend out of it.
Because they already announced I forget where the 2021 draft is, but the 2022 is now going to be in Vegas.
J-Man will Google 2021 draft.
Yeah, I don't, because it was in Nashville last year. It might be Kansas City.
Really?
Maybe. I'm not too confident now that I said that. But
let's see here. Cleveland.
Wow, I was off.
Yeah, that just, no offense to any Clevelanders, but that just does not sound like a very fun place to spend a mid-April, late April weekend.
Well, the Browns typically have a pretty high draft pick, so at least they would their fan base would be excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got a bunch to talk about tonight. We got NFL draft, recapping that, of course, recapping episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance, and a few other fun things to talk about. But we want to let you know that the Tan and J-Man Show is brought to you by, like it is every week, The Damn Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, The Damn Landing is the place to be. The Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou that focuses on freshness and quality. And, of course, the Damn Smoke. Every Friday and during the weekend, you got barbecue, you got ribs, you got steaks. J-Man, have you had the ribs yet?
I have not. Maybe this weekend.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. I keep telling myself, this is the weekend it's going to happen. And then for whatever reason, it just never does.
Well, you saw what they announced yesterday on Facebook, right?
I did not.
Backed by popular demand, Damn Breakfast Pizzas. Available at 11 a.m. until sold out. They got 3 different ones. They got the Hot Mess, which is sausage gravy, egg, bacon, jalapeno, tot crumble, and damn sauce. They got the Hangover, which is sausage gravy, egg, bacon, tot crumble, and scallion. Then they got the Farmer, sausage gravy, egg, ham, green pepper, onion, mushroom, and tot crumble.
Yummy.
So, you can get that and more. Great food. Carry-out service right now, delivery. Call them today at 574-223-8950, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. All right, you ready for some Birdie Bogey trivia?
Let's hear it.
All right. Well, like I kind of was mentioning just a little bit ago, we will be recapping the episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance. So I thought I'd do an NBA-related question that kind of ties into that.
Not great.
Dennis Rodman is one of 3 players in NBA history to have won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards and multiple NBA championships. Name the other 2 players.
I have no shot this week.
Well, you got darn near an hour to think about it. So
yes, that gives me a little bit of hope. Not much, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I got a comment here from Tanya Shriver. Her husband Sean said the NFL draft is in KC in 2 years. So I knew it was something like that. I was close.
So like 2023, 3 years?
That would be 3 years because I think they announced 2022 is going to Vegas.
Is going to Vegas,
yeah.
Correct.
Yep. Unless they got that wrong, which they could have. Goodell did kind of stumble over his words a little bit here and there.
Yeah, he went from looking great on Thursday night to just completely worn out by the last pick on Friday.
And I will say, some of the names he had to pronounce, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
The Broncos drafted like 4 of them. So
I was going to say they're mainly all taken by the Broncos.
I know,
Dolphins drafted 2 of them. He had to attempt to say in the first round.
It's terrible, but the Birdie Bogey is brought to you by the Noble Gnome LLC. Of course, their pickup date and time this year has been pushed back by about a week. So the first day of pickup this year will be May 14th. The last day is October 1st. Pickup location still at Romine Family Farms, 3328 South 900 West in Mentone, Indiana. And, of course, you can sign up for the CSA membership, which gets you a weekly box of fresh produce. You'll get their newsletter, recipes, a relationship with them, the farmers who grow your food, and exclusive farm tours. What can you get in your box? Well, they got about everything. Beets, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, cucumbers, eggplant, herbs, kale, kohlrabi, lettuce, melons, microgreens, onions, peppers, radishes, spinach, summer squash, salad mix, sweet corn, Swiss chard, tomatoes, turnips, and winter squash. So for more information, you can like their Facebook page, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com.
Get your veggies.
Getting really close.
Yes, sir. It's supposed to be a pretty nice week weather-wise, so people need to go out and get your veggies.
Yep. There you go.
Ready to be educated on this day.
Always. Professor J-Man.
Professor J-Man.
Yeah, Professor J-Man, yeah.
In 1929 on this day, Ryder Cup golf played at Moortown Golf Club. Great Britain beats the U.S. 7-5 in bitterly cold and snowy conditions.
Snowy golf.
Snowy golf, late April. That's a rough weather day.
Hey, I would take it right now to watch.
Snowy golf?
I would watch snowy golf right now, yes, on TV. Give me something.
I'd prefer to watch snowy golf than regular golf. It'd be far more interesting to me. In 1956, on this day, undefeated world heavyweight boxing champion Rocco Marciano retires from the ring. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah. I'm not big on my boxing trivia
Me
history,
either.
but
I've heard
pretty
of
good.
him.
Yes.
In 1961, on this day, the NFL officially recognizes the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
You said that was 61?
Yes, 1961.
Okay.
On this day in 1983, Nolan Ryan becomes the strikeout king. Can you name me the pitcher he passed?
Oh, jeez. Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb was not a pitcher.
Of course he wasn't. Gosh dang it. I don't
Walter
know.
Johnson.
I could have guessed 50 guys. Why did I think Ty Cobb was a pitcher?
He was not a pitcher.
Why did
I heard
think
he was an extremely mean-spirited man. That's
who
what
am I thinking of back in the day? That was. Am I thinking of Cy
yeah,
Young?
You're probably thinking of Cy Young.
Yeah, that makes
award,
sense.
There's an award
yeah.
named after him.
Oh, man.
He became the strikeout king with 3,509 strikeouts. He finished with like 5,700 strikeouts. Can you name who's second now with 4,800 or so? I just saw it on the bottom line on ESPN.
Strikeouts?
Yes.
Is it Randy Johnson?
It is Randy Johnson.
All right. Good guess,
Yes.
Tanner.
That was a very good guess.
Very good guess.
On this date in 1992, the New York Mets traded David Cone to the Toronto Blue Jays for Jeff Kent.
Oh, I didn't even know. Interesting.
It is a very slow on this day that I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, it must be. Jeff Kent, 2000 MVP.
Yes, he was also a very mean-spirited guy, and not many people liked him.
You're right.
Much like, I think David Cone was kind of the same way. Kind of both curmudgeons.
Yeah.
On this day in 1994, Twins righty Scott Erickson no-hit the Brewers 6-0.
Never heard of him.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever heard of him either. And the last one, on this day 3 years ago, Texas A&M defensive end Myles Garrett was the first pick in the draft by the Cleveland Browns.
Now he likes to hit people in the head with helmets.
Yes, attempted murder.
But he is a pretty good player.
Yes, he is. Can you name who was the number one overall pick on this day in 1982?
82?
Yes.
It's the year before LA. What team had the number one pick?
The New England Patriots.
Okay. No.
Kenneth Sims.
Oh, nope.
Yep. That is all that happened on this day.
Pretty weak list today.
It was a very weak list. I think, was it last week or the week before where we had a ton of them?
Yeah. I think it was last week.
This week, not so much.
But on this day's segment is brought to you by Proforma Print House. Are you looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting? Proforma Print House has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company. Call them today at 574-210-3815. Well, let's get into recapping episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance, the ESPN documentary that's taken the nation by storm.
How good is this documentary on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say it's 10. I think the worst you could grade is probably 9, 8 or 9. I mean, I don't know why you would grade any lower than that.
It might be a case of recency bias, but I think this is the best sports documentary I've ever watched.
It's really well done.
And we're only 40% of the way done with it.
I know, but it makes me sad thinking it's going to be done in 3 weeks.
I know it.
Then what? Then what are we going to watch?
I know, and I was thinking that after the draft on Saturday, and then I remember, oh yeah, we got the Last Dance on Sunday, but already dreading when it's over.
Because this was a nice weekend if you like sports. You know, you had the NFL draft, which was live. It was meaningful. It was a sporting. It was nice to see people banter and argue on Twitter about sports again. And then you had the Last Dance, episode 3 and 4 last night. Episode 3 portrayed Dennis Rodman mostly, and then episode 4, Phil Jackson. Or was it 3 that was Rodman and Jackson, and then 4 was... Anyways, and it was tied in with the Pistons and the Bulls rivalry, which was really neat to see.
Yeah, as for the Rodman segment of it, it was really good, but ESPN had done a 30 for 30 on Rodman just a few months ago. So I didn't learn a whole lot from it because a lot of it was kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought episode 4 was the best one we've had so far, just with the Pistons rivalry and all that. The Pistons were kind of the worst, weren't they?
Yeah, and I had known that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a professional athlete more hated than Bill Laimbeer.
he was just, yeah.
He was a goon. He was just a goon.
That's exactly what he was. He just knocked people to the ground.
They were tough, man. They were just mean.
They had those Jordan rules where, I mean, if he got in the air, we're putting him on his butt. That was pretty much their whole philosophy, and, it worked. But I did find it kind of ironic they were nicknamed the Bad Boys, but were so cowardly that they left the court with 8 seconds left in the Eastern Conference Finals when they knew they were going to lose.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because what do you think about that? Because they showed the footage of Bird, Parrish, Ainge doing that same thing years before when the Pistons kind of unseated the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about it? I mean, what still rubbed you the wrong way then?
It made me mad because, I mean, Jordan's one of the most competitive athletes in the history of sports. And, I mean, he stuck around when they were routinely getting beaten by the Pistons, and he'd shake their hand, congratulate them. But the fact that they were nicknamed the Bad Boys, yet were too soft and cowardly to even stick around, that just tells you all you need to know about them. And, of course, Laimbeer was kind of the ringleader in that. And then Isaiah tried to justify their actions.
He's a jerk.
He really is a terrible human being. But, I mean, you could really, 30 years later, still see the contempt Jordan had for Isaiah. He still hates him.
Yep.
Still hates him.
Yep. And it was interesting, too. It should be pointed out, and I noticed this last night watching the Scott Van Pelt show after the Last Dance was over. John Sally and a few other players and the Pistons coach stayed around to shake hands. It was only a good majority didn't, but John Sally and a few others did.
Right. Which Sally was interviewed on the documentary, and he actually seemed like a fairly class act.
Well, and he was a member of the Bulls in 96, 97.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he seemed like the most normal and humble of the guys on that Pistons team. So,
but it was really interesting. I thought how, after getting beat by the Pistons back-to-back years, Jordan and the Bulls that one year finally said, okay, we're not going anywhere after the season. We're staying here. We're going to start weight training.
Yep.
We're going to get bigger. We're going to get tougher. And that's what it took.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy that Jordan had never really done any weight training before that, which you can kind of see too, because he was really skinny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean he just knew what he needed to do to get better.
Yep. And it was also, I'm kind of jumping around here, and and speaking of jumping around, that's one critique I've seen on Twitter from some people is that the documentary jumps around too much. Like they'll go back in time, then they go clear up to 98, and then they go back. But whatever.
I wouldn't say it's confusing or anything.
No.
I mean, they clearly show where they're jumping to.
Yeah. So, but it is interesting that, speaking like Rodman and John Sally, that Jordan, being the competitor and just wanting to win so much, he'd bring these guys in that used to be his rivals because he knew they could help them win.
Yep.
I mean, it was interesting because when you see Rodman there pushing Jordan and pushing Pippen down when he's on the Pistons, I'm thinking if that was me, I'd never want him to be my teammate in the future at all. But
I know it.
But they saw the
and it was so cool hearing Dennis Rodman talk about his rebounding philosophy, where he'd watch film of Pippen and Jordan missing shots, and he knew exactly where the ball was going to bounce off to. And he put himself right in that exact position, and that's why he's one of the greatest rebounders, if not the greatest rebounder in the history of the game. He is the best rebounder, I think, in the modern era. But it was just interesting. I mean, he doesn't look like a smart guy, doesn't really act like a smart guy, but Jordan even said he is one of the smartest basketball guys he knows.
And I think Rodman's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. If social media was around then, Rodman would be worth so much money right now because he knew how to market himself.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, him and Karl Malone both, when they were rivals and going back and forth in the finals, they both did some pro wrestling against each other in WCW. And it's kind of funny because I saw a documentary about that, which was really interesting because Karl Malone grew up wanting to be a professional wrestler. He didn't want to be a basketball player. It just kind of happened. And Rodman was just doing it for the money. But just kind of like the Last Dance showed, they were talking about how Rodman wouldn't show up to like the rehearsals to go over matches and stuff for like or if he did, he was 2 hours late and different things. But then when it came time on that Monday night when they were live, he was there and was 100% and just blew it away. And just kind of like how he had to have a bender in Vegas with Carmen Electra last night, and that's what he needed to let loose, and then he was good to go. I mean, that's just Rodman.
and Jordan even said, we knew we weren't getting him back in 48 hours, but we brought him back, and he was fine. Yep. I mean, mentally he was there. He was good to go.
But it was really interesting, and I guess I never realized either that Jordan loved Doug Collins as much as he did.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because I thought Collins kind of got a raw deal.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he was fired after going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Phil took him to a completely different level. And I don't think Scottie Pippen turns into Scottie Pippen if Phil Jackson does not become head coach and implements his triangle offense. It was really cool to see kind of the graphics of how the triangle offense works. I've never really looked into it or anything. I just don't think Pippen is Scottie Pippen if they don't have that, because he was kind of their point guard, and if he wasn't, if they didn't have the triangle offense, he was just kind of be the small forward out there. He probably would have still scored points and stuff, but now he was kind of their primary ball handler.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. One of our good friends, Evan Webb, he asked a good question earlier today. He was comparing without looking up his question, I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. He was comparing what was it, Kobe and Shaq again? Would you rather have Kobe and Shaq or Pippen? Was that it?
I think the way he worded it was a lot of people have been talking about how Scottie Pippen's the greatest number 2 of all time. Here, I'll actually go look it up real quick. It wasn't that far back in the messages, I don't believe. The question was, need a little music here.
Yeah, some Jeopardy music going.
Let's see. Do you actually remember when he sent it?
It wasn't that long ago.
It was this morning, I think. Question to debate on the pod. With the release of The Last Dance, we're seeing a lot of people saying Scottie Pippen is the greatest number 2 ever. For the sake of arguing, would you say Pippen is better than Shaq or Kobe/Shaq? Also, who would you say was the number 2 on those Laker teams?
Well, the number 2, in my opinion, was Kobe.
Really?
Yep.
See, I completely disagree with you.
Okay.
Maybe at the beginning of that run it was Kobe, but I think by the end, Shaq was kind of the number 2. And I remember after Shaq left and joined the Heat, there was always the talk, well, Kobe couldn't do it without Shaq, but then he ended up winning 2 in a row without Shaq.
Yeah, I mean, the franchise obviously thought, but Shaq was older, but the franchise all obviously thought that Kobe was the piece. But I always thought, growing up and watching those teams, I thought Shaq was a centerpiece and Kobe was amazing number 2. But
I mean, it's hard to argue with you, but for the sake of argument,
sure.
I think, as I said, by the end of those 3 years, I think Kobe was the dude.
Yep.
Of course, Shaq had been in the league almost 10 years then, if not 10 years. And I would take both those guys over Scottie easily.
I would too. Yep.
And it's hard to compare a Shaq to a Scottie Pippen just because they're completely different.
It's even hard to compare Shaq to Kobe too because they played two.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, but
interesting discussion.
That was a really good question because Scottie Pippen, as I said with Phil Jackson, he's not Scottie Pippen, but he's also not Scottie Pippen without Michael Jordan either. Where I think Kobe would have been Kobe without Shaq, and Shaq was already Shaq.
Yep. Good points. So. But I'd be interested to know from people who are watching on Facebook. You can drop in the comments if you want who your least favorite professional athlete is, or is today, or is forever, all time. I know I worded that terribly, but
have we ever actually done that? 'Cause that's got me thinking.
I don't think we have.
we might have a few years ago, but
well, mine currently is Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers has been my least favorite professional athlete for a long time. Now he's out of the AFC West, but he's still on the Colts. So
yeah, you still hate old Phil, huh?
oh, dude, he just. I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but just his trash talking and how he goes about it, he just drives me nuts.
I'm not an NBA fan. I've mentioned that many times on the show. But I have hated Draymond Green since he was at Michigan State.
Oh yeah, he's an easy one to hate. That's a good one.
And I was actually going to ask this question: what NBA player today would fit in well with that bad boys team?
Well, Draymond thinks he's Rodman, but he's not.
No, he's nowhere close.
The NBA's so soft now compared to when it was back then.
And Draymond would really be the only guy I could think of. He's from Michigan, was born in '90, right during the end of the Pistons' reign.
Yeah.
But he's born in Saginaw, Michigan. I don't know how far that is from Detroit.
Lance Stevenson a few years ago would have fit in well.
Yeah. Old Lance, he was crazy.
Yeah. Ron Artest.
Yeah, Meta World Peace, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that crap wouldn't fly in today's game with them throwing. I mean, there'd be so many suspensions, fines.
And that's one thing about this documentary. It keeps showing me how good the NBA used to be and how poor of a product it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I mean, I actually enjoyed watching the NBA when I was a kid.
Sure.
But now I can't get into it because we just don't have those rivalries anymore. They're all best friends and are in like movies together and hang out all the time.
Yep.
And that just kind of annoys me.
Sure. Understandably so. Well, any more thoughts on episodes 3 and 4? It looks like next week's is going to be a lot about like the marketing of Jordan. It looked like on the previews last night. So, marketing aspect. And there was a part that he was talking to Kobe. He said, "We'll see you down the road." Or I'll see you down the road, he said.
It'll be tough to top episode 4 last night.
Yep.
It was a good one.
Yep. But I'll be on the edge of my couch come Sunday.
I can't wait.
So.
Cannot wait.
But the NFL draft happened over the weekend. It's one of both you and I's favorite events of the year. I really enjoyed it Thursday through Saturday this year. Really surprised myself for the first 11 picks in the draft. I got 10 of them right, my mock draft.
That was insane.
I was starting to freak out a little bit.
I know it. I could not believe it.
And then I got one out of the last 22 right, but it was the Broncos pick that I got right. So
Kuiper got like 6.
He got 6.
32. It's such a crapshoot.
Oh, it is. One of the guys I follow a lot.
Unbelievable.
Cecil Lammy, who's the draft expert for 104.3 The Fan out in Denver. He got 10 right. So even to beat him, I was pretty happy. And people were asking me how I did it. I looked at probably 10 to 15 mock drafts and kind of did some studying and just because I don't know. I kept having it saved and I would go back and change it, have it saved, go back and change it till finally I released it on Wednesday night. Because one of the picks I was mad that I changed, through all my mocks, I had Austin Jackson going 18 to the Dolphins. And then I changed it to Josh Jones on Wednesday night, and then Austin Jackson goes to the Dolphins at 18. Josh Jones goes in the second round.
Yeah.
But overall, you had to be pretty pleased with the Dolphins draft, I would think.
Yeah. The Dolphins took Tua, and I could not be more delighted. Yep. I got my book it wrong.
Yep.
They could have taken a bunch of Tanner Lees and Josh Muntz with the rest of their picks, and I would have still given it an A+.
That's funny.
They got their quarterback, and I thought they played it perfectly. We thought they had won too much last year to get their franchise quarterback. They won 5 games and ended up with the 5th pick. And have you ever – I might just be a little too close to it, but have you ever seen a team involved in more rumors heading into the draft than the Dolphins this year? It was insane.
It just kept going back and forth, I felt like, between two guys.
We heard they like Herbert more than Tua. They like Tua more than Herbert. I even heard they like Jordan Love more than both of them. We also heard they weren't going to trade up for anyone. Then they were going to trade up for an offensive lineman. They created enough confusion that it really forced the Chargers to stay put at number 6. They had no clue what was going on. And Dolphins were allowed to get the guy they wanted for like the past 18 months now. So, and then for the rest of their draft, I mean, they really built up the trenches, which is what they needed to do. Needed to build an offensive line. They haven't had a good one since 2008. So they did what they had to do, and people were mad they didn't take a running back, and then they went and traded a 5th-round pick for Matt Breida.
Yeah, works pretty good.
Yeah, him and Jordan Howard should be a pretty good tandem. But overall, I thought they did really well. My favorite pick of the draft, did you see they drafted Malcolm Perry?
Yes, I did.
Out of Navy. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest Navy football players ever. And there's a new policy where military college athletes can pursue pro sports after college now, as long as they either end up finishing their time in the service afterwards or pay off their tuition in full. That's a very Patriots-type pick because I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the team as a special teamer and could be used kind of as a slot guy in the Julian Edelman role. But overall, I was pretty happy.
Yeah, I thought you would be. I mean, I know fellow Dolphin fan Brantlin Shalley's got to be pleased because he texted me hating your booklet last week and said Herbert's
my booklet as well.
Tannehill 2.0, it's 2 or nothing. So,
and I 100% agreed with him. And it's a good thing Stephen Ross fired Mike Tannenbaum as director or president of football ops, whatever his position was, because he's an ESPN guy now. And he, leading up to the draft, said he would have absolutely taken Herbert at number 5 if he was the Dolphins. So thank God Stephen Ross finally canned him.
I was pretty pleased, too, with my team's draft.
You know, before you get started on that, I have a hard time saying anything good about the Broncos because you've made me grow to hate them.
I do that to everybody around me, so you're not the only one.
But the Broncos absolutely murdered it this year. I thought they did a great job.
I did too.
I think on paper it's Elway's best draft.
And I thought he's had good back-to-back drafts. I don't know what he's – well, I will say one of the things I've noticed, a trend in his drafts, he's trying to get a lot of team captains, which I kind of like. I think that's a smart move. But the first-round pick of Jerry Jeudy, the fact that he was there at 15, they didn't have to move up, that was a grand slam.
Right. And really that injury issue coming in really helped him out too. Because I think he would have gone in the top 10 had he not had that injury.
Yep. And then I was surprised by the KJ Hamler pick. I knew the Broncos were interested in him. I just didn't know they would take him in the second round. I thought they might try to wait till the third if he was there. But they jumped on him. I was surprised they went back-to-back wide receiver instead of getting a tackle because I still think they need a tackle. They didn't really address that too much in the draft. But their objective was, of course, to get speed. It's we got to score points if we want to contend not only with the Chiefs but other teams. I mean, they haven't scored points the last 3 years. It's just not getting it done. They still have a good defense. So, I mean, with Hamler, you got a guy in the slot and he can help in the return game. But my favorite pick was Jerry Jeudy. But my second favorite pick out of all of them was Lloyd Cushenberry, the center from LSU in the third round at pick 83. He was ranked as the second, if not the second, the third best center by a lot of experts. And he was graded in the second round. So to get him in the third round, he'll probably be their starting center week 1. So
yeah, plug and play.
Other than that, they just got a few pieces here and there, some D-line help, a tight end from Missouri that Drew Lock threw 17 touchdowns to in 2 years. Got a linebacker in the 5th round that can supposedly cover pretty well out of Wake Forest. So, we'll see. We'll see how many of those guys towards the end actually make the team. But I was very pleased with it. Then as for the 2 local teams, I saw Colt fans were really pleased with their draft.
They should be.
2 picks in the second round. They got Michael Pittman Jr., a wide receiver from USC. He's a big boy, 6'4", 220. So he should be everything that Devin Funchess wasn't for them, I would think. And they also got Jonathan Taylor, running back from Wisconsin, who is one of the best college running backs I've ever seen.
Yeah, I thought they did really well. They needed to get more offensive weapons, and that's what they did in the second round. I didn't really follow their draft the rest of the way, but those 2 second-round picks were awfully darn good. Both guys could have snuck into the late first round, too.
Well, in the third round, they got Julian Blackmon, safety from Utah. Utah got 3 of their 4, if not all 4 of their defensive backs drafted in the draft. Of course, he had LSU had 14 players drafted, which was a record. The SEC had a record amount. But besides like LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, and Alabama, I want to say that Utah might have the most people drafted besides those other four schools.
If this tells you anything about LSU, the Dolphins drafted their long snapper in the 6th round.
Exactly.
That's all you need to know.
I was surprised Moss didn't get drafted. He got picked up in free agency, but I was surprised he didn't get drafted, Randy Moss's son. Because now he's going to the Redskins, where he's playing with Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson played with Randy Moss 2010. So now he's got to play with his son.
Well, that's crazy, but I saw another thing. Antoine Winfield Sr. picked off Tom Brady in 2000. Antoine Winfield Jr. was 3 years old. The Tampa Bay Bucks just drafted Antoine Winfield Jr.
Jeez.
He was 3 years old when his dad played against Tom Brady and now they're teammates.
That's ridiculous. And then, of course, the one pick that kind of made some headlines for the Colts was in round 4. They got quarterback Jacob Eason from Washington, 6'6", 227. Built a lot like Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
But he will be the Colts' only quarterback on contract past 2020 since Rivers is a one-year deal, and this is the last year for Jacoby Brissett.
I wonder what kind of draft capital they have next year, because I could very much see that. I think they'll be pretty good, so they won't be in a position to draft a Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if they'll be a candidate to trade up to the top spot, especially if a team like the Bengals end up getting a number 1 pick again, which I think is entirely possible. If the Colts could be a candidate to trade up. What's going to happen, though, is old Billy Belichick is just going to tank his season this year.
I just can't see Bill doing that, though, to be honest.
I can't either, but he's a smart enough guy to know.
But they did keep jumping in. Every time I thought they were jumping back in the rounds to take a quarterback, they'd take some tight end from like a Division III school. So it was getting really weird.
Yeah, they said not taking a quarterback was not by design. It just kind of worked out that way.
Still watch for Cam Newton there.
It just doesn't feel like it'd be a fit, does it? But
but I don't know where he goes, man.
I don't know where Cam goes. I don't know what the Patriots end up doing.
They must really like to sit him. I don't know. But the Bears didn't have too many draft picks. Their first draft pick was in the 2nd round. They took a guy a lot of people had going to the Bears, and he's probably going to be a Bear fan favorite because a lot of Bear fans also like Notre Dame. That's Cole Kmet, tight end from Notre Dame.
Every Bear fan person I follow on Twitter that's also a Cubs person, which is why I follow them, hates the pick of Cole Kmet.
Interesting.
Hates it because there's like 10 tight ends on the roster.
Well, they're excuse me, they're going to cut a bunch of them. So
they wanted to go like wide receiver or offensive line because their offensive line's abysmal.
They drafted 2 guards in the 7th. They drafted 2 guards in the 7th round, a wide receiver in the 5th. They also got Jalen Johnson, cornerback from Utah in the 2nd. They got a defensive end from Tulsa in the 5th, and they got a cornerback in the 5th. That was it.
Yeah, they traded all their draft picks away for Khalil Mack.
Yes.
And they traded a 4th rounder for Nick Foles, I think.
Yeah, next year they finally get their first round pick back. Yep.
Yeah.
So interesting. Not a ton to cover there with the Bears, but
I think the biggest headline, at least on Friday, was the Philadelphia Eagles taking Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, kind of head scratcher taking him in the 2nd round instead of like the 3rd or 4th. I guess they just think they're going to develop some packages for him, some special packages or something. Of course, I was giving my dad a hard time that Carson Wentz is overrated, and he threatened to not give me any money after he's deceased. So I thought I better back off the Carson Wentz talk because he's a big Carson Wentz fan. I can get him fired up easily just bringing up Nick Foles. But
you know what a lot of teams said, or that a lot of teams are concerned about, is their starting quarterback getting this COVID-19, and that's part of the reason why the Eagles took him in the 2nd round, is because the backup quarterback position could be huge this year just in case their starter gets the virus.
It's interesting to think that way. I mean, that's either going to be really smart thinking or really dumb thinking.
Yeah. If you're mortgaging your future because of it, I don't think it's overly smart. But I don't really know what Doug Peterson and Well, I don't know who their GM is.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
But
Yep. So, but I thought the one last pick I want to talk about before we move on and get into some fun trivia. Jordan Love to Green Bay in the first round.
Yeah, old Aaron Rodgers is 36. He had to sit behind Brett Favre for 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably smart. They got they have a plan in place anyway.
Yes.
But I don't know how Aaron's going to react to it. He hasn't really said anything publicly, but he seems like the kind of guy that would be really upset about something like this.
I think he holds grudges more than about any professional athlete.
Yep.
And, I almost had him mocked there at 30, even though they traded up to get him. Mm-hmm. I almost had him mocked down. I thought, I think he slights his day two. I thought he'd go to the Colts, to be honest. Jordan Love. And, it'll be interesting because he's probably going to sit for 2 or 3 years. And I don't know. I just can't see Aaron being willing to help him learn, but we'll see.
Rodgers has $72 million left on the deal. So could it be that Green Bay after this year is going to try to trade him? Watch for a team like New England.
I was going to say that's a New England move.
Then, and I could entirely see that happening. For years we couldn't see a franchise quarterback leaving the team they've been with forever, and then Peyton Manning did it and kind of opened the door for Tom Brady to do it.
Well, to Peyton's credit, he got cut. The Colts said we're moving on from you due to your injury, so
he got kind of.
He wouldn't have ever left Indianapolis if he had the choice.
But the fact other quarterbacks saw him in a different uniform told them that they could do it.
Yes, good point. So. Yeah, overall, I thought the draft was really fun. It was nice to watch a meaningful sporting event go on, and like I said, banter and argue on Twitter. And I don't know, the NFL, it just took my mind off everything for a few days. So
yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yep. So, and if we forgot any thoughts or anything about the draft, we have something to bring up next week, I guess. So, but on to trivia. A few weeks ago,
I will give you questions first,
okay,
by the way.
Okay. So Josh has given me 10 questions about Purdue football. I'm giving him 10 about Illinois basketball. We're probably going to make fools of ourselves, but it's going to be fun.
I'm very nervous. All right. Number 1. How many bowl games did Purdue play in under Joe Tiller?
All right, I got to count on my fingers real quick. 10.
You are correct.
Because he missed it in 05 and 08.
Number 2, what was their record in those bowl games? 10 bowl games.
Okay, so. Um, 4 and 6.
4 and 6 is correct. Last Joe Tiller question here. Joe Tiller was interim coach of a Canadian Football League team in 1976. What was the name of that team?
Oh, man.
What city? If you can name the city, I'll give you a point.
Saskatchewan. I don't know. That's a city. That's probably I don't know.
I don't know if it's a city or a province.
Yeah, I'm terrible with Canadian things.
So am I. But you are incorrect.
All right.
He was interim coach of the Calgary Stampeders.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Try to get the rest right. Dang.
What year was the last time Purdue was ranked at the end of the season?
Ooh. I was going to say the last time they've been ranked at all was 07 for a week, which is pathetic. The end of the season, 2003?
You are correct. Yep. Can you name what their ranking was at the end of the season?
They lost to Bowling Green, Michigan, and Ohio State, then lost in overtime to Georgia in the Capital One Bowl. Let's go with 19.
Ooh, so close. 18.
All right.
But you get a point.
Cool.
Number 5, Purdue has 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers. Can you name them? Current Hall of Famers. Drew Brees will get in.
You got Lynn Dawson, Hank
Yes.
Strom,
Yes.
Bob Greasy, and Rod Woodson.
You are correct. You're rolling.
And I think Allstott will get in eventually, too.
Think so? Has he even been like in the semifinals?
No, but fullback's a tough position to get in. But if anybody doesn't think he's got us,
especially in today's NFL.
Yeah.
What player holds the single season passing yardage record?
Curtis Painter.
Curtis Painter
By about single digits over Drew Brees.
2 yards.
2. I knew it was something. Yeah.
5 out of 6. What player is the career rushing touchdown leader?
Corey Sheets with 48.
Corey Sheets with 48.
Mike Allstott second with like 36.
6 out of 7. Number 8. Who is the career interception leader?
Stuart Swaggart. And then Ricardo Allen's second.
Who is the career sack leader?
Roosevelt Colvin.
Yes,
and Sean
8 out of
Phillips
9.
and Ryan Kerrigan are closely behind.
I made these too easy for you.
Well, I have all these old. Last year before the season, I studied a bunch of stuff last year, so with old football books. So,
and the final question: how many times has Purdue won the conference title?
Oh, well, the last time they won it was 2000. The time before that was 1966. Oh, I don't know how many times they won it way back in the day, so I'm gonna go 8.
8 times is correct.
Oh my God, I got 9 out of 10.
9 out of that's 90. That is an A+ or an A-.
I'll take
anyway.
it. Awesome.
That was solid work.
Well, Jay, man,
to embarrass myself.
I think I made yours way too difficult.
That's fine.
But we're gonna give it a try. All right, question 1. Good old Bruce Weber has 472 career wins. How many came at Illinois?
Oh gosh.
And I'll give you you gave me a Gene Katie guessing one. So it is between 205 and 215.
205 and 215. I am going to go with 210.
You got it. His record
Yes,
was
sir.
210 and 101.
You know, I think I actually knew that anyway, but I probably would not have guessed 210 had you not given me a range. So thank you.
You gave me this question when we did Purdue basketball, so I'm giving it to you for Illinois. Name the top 5 scoring leaders in Illinois history.
I had a feeling this was going to be on there, but I did not look it up. So I know Deion Thomas is number 1.
He is number 1 with 2,129 points.
D. Brown, I think, is number 2.
He is number 4 with...
Number 4.
No, he is number 3 with 1,812. No, he's number 4. I cannot count with 1,812. Yep.
I was going to say, because I think Malcolm Hill's number 3.
He is with 1,817. So you're missing the number 5 and number 2.
Brian Cook.
He is number 5 with 1,748. So you're missing the number 2 guy.
And number 2, I'm between Eddie Johnson, Kiwani Garris. I'm going to go Kiwani Garris.
You got it. 1,948 points.
Let's go.
Yep.
I think Garris is still the all-time freshman scoring leader at Illinois.
He played way back in the day, too. So
I think he was in the 90s, wasn't he?
I thought he was...
I'm pretty sure he's in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go look it up real quick.
Be careful.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to look up Kiwani Garris.
All right, question...
94 to 97.
Okay, I don't know who I was thinking about then when I was looking that up. Oh, I know who I was thinking of. Never mind. I was thinking of somebody else. Anyways, Lou Henson is Illinois' all-time winningest head coach with a record of 423 and 224. How many Big Ten championships did he win?
I don't know. I'm going to go with... See, I know Lon Kruger won one. I'm going to go with 3.
How about 1?
Just 1.
1984. He made the NCAA tournament 12 times, but they only won it in 84.
They didn't even win it in 89.
No.
I think
they were second.
Might have won it that
they were
year.
second in 89.
Interesting.
Who holds the record for most points scored in a single game?
I know who it is, but I can't remember their name. I don't think it's Brandon Paul. He had 43. I have no clue.
All right, this is the guy who played way back in the day, Dave Downey, with 53 in 1963.
Yeah, I knew that now that you said his name, but I could not remember. I know Paul had 43, and that was his highest. That's the most in the modern era.
3 for 4, and you'll get these next few, I think. So, who's the last player to win the Big Ten Player of the Year for the Illini?
D. Brown.
D. Brown in 05 is correct. So 4 for 5. Who is the last Mr. Basketball from the state of Illinois to sign with the Illini?
Well, it's technically Adam Miller because he just did it this past week.
Okay, but not him. Before
that, it was Mark Smith.
Mark Smith in 2017. You're 5 for 6.
Adam Miller was just named Mr. Basketball, and he just signed last week, so he kind of screwed it up for you.
Yes, he did, but you're 5 for 6. You're doing better than I thought you would. So
I hate Mark Smith, by the way.
I know
I
you
hate
do.
his dad.
Illinois has had 5 players selected in the first round of the NBA draft in the 2000s. Can you name them?
Frankie Williams.
Frankie Williams was 25th in 02.
Brian Cook
was 24th in 02.
Darren Williams.
He was 3rd in 05.
Luther Head.
Was 24th in 05.
Myers Leonard.
11th in 2012. You are 6 for 7. When was the last time Illinois made the Sweet 16?
2005.
Yep, 2004, 2005. Wow, you are 7 for 8. You're doing really well. Illinois has been the 1 seed in the NCAA tournament 3 times. Name the years.
2005.
Yes.
2001.
Yes.
And got to be 89, doesn't it?
You got it. You are 8 for 9. So it comes down to this question. Are you going to get 80% or 90%? I'm really impressed. There was a few early on I didn't think you'd get all 5 of those scoring leaders. So, or the Bruce Weber one, even though I gave you a guess. But
you did help me out there. I appreciate it.
Illinois has a winning record over 9 of the other 13 Big Ten teams, besides themselves, of course. What 4 teams do they have losing records against?
I know they have a losing record against Purdue.
Yes, they're 89 and 102 against Purdue.
I'm going to say Indiana.
Yes, they're 88 and 93 against Indiana.
Let's see. I'm going to say Michigan State.
They are correct, 60 and 63 against Michigan State.
That one's close. It's changed here. Past couple years, it's kind of flipped. Maryland.
You got it. They're 6 and 11 against Maryland. So you got 9 out of 10 correct yourself.
Yes, sir. Maryland. I think Illinois has the longest losing streak against anyone. It's Maryland. I think they haven't beat them since 2015. Should have beat them this year.
I was gonna say you should have had them this past year.
Yeah.
Good job, Jay. Man, you did not embarrass yourself by any means. You did really well.
I thought I was really going to embarrass myself, and we both just nailed it.
Maybe I should have gave you some tougher questions. I thought I gave you tough questions. So
those are pretty tough questions. I agree with you.
All right, we got about 6 minutes here. You got anything else before the birdie bogey?
Yeah, no, I do not.
I'm trying to think.
I did do this list, the worst first round pick my team has made.
Oh yeah.
In my lifetime, I can maybe rifle through them real quick.
I mean, just for the Broncos, mine's Paxton Lynch, but that's not too hard to figure out.
Yeah, that was a bad one. The first one, I'll say, the one I hated the most at the time was probably Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
Because I wanted Brady Quinn back then because I needed a quarterback. But Adrian Peterson went the very next pick, I believe.
Yeah.
But the worst first-round pick the Dolphins have made is Deion Jordan.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
They traded up 9 spots, taking 3rd overall. He had a ton of drug problems. Only had 3 sacks in 2 years with the Dolphins. That was kind of Jeff Ireland's parting gift. Honorable mention, John Avery. Took him 29th overall in 98. Only ended up with 524 career rushing yards. Traded to Denver during his second year. took Yatil Green, 15th overall in like 96. He only played 8 career games.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
But they kind of salvaged it because they took Sam Madison and Jason Taylor with their next 2 picks in that draft.
Hall of Famer, so.
Yeah. And then Charles Harris from just a few years ago, 2017, 3.5 career sacks.
Yeah.
I also did the Cubs one as well.
We got a Cubs trivia question for you real quick.
All right, let's
and my
hear it.
dad sent in. Who's the last person to score for the Cubs?
I have no idea.
Back in September.
Ian Happ.
David Bogey.
Oh, how about David Bogey? I miss baseball.
Yep.
Hayden Simpson was the worst first-round pick. Took him 16th overall in 2010 out of Southern Arkansas. They took him about 3 rounds before he was supposed to go.
That's a
then
reach.
Then he got mono. The Cubs actually saw him in the D2 playoffs, and he would be like hitting 97 miles an hour with a nasty slider. But then got mono, and his fastball never touched 90 again.
Yeah.
So kind of feel bad for the guy, but happens.
Also, one thing I wanted to mention, Purdue did have 2 guys drafted. Bryson Hopkins, 4th round to the Rams. And then Marcus Bailey, 1st pick of the 7th round to the Cincinnati Bengals.
I was going to ask you if Bailey got drafted. I didn't.
So he gets
really
to stay home in Ohio. Yep. So if he can stay healthy, that could be a potential late round steal there by the Bengals. So.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people thought he could be like a 2nd round pick had he been healthy.
Yeah, I thought he'd go 5th or 6th round. I thought Hopkins would go 3rd. He went later than I thought, but he's got to develop his blocking a little bit. Indiana had a tackle going to 6th round to the Packers, and Notre Dame had 10 players, with the leader being Cole Kmet. So
that's a lot of draft picks.
Yeah, it
too.
is.
I mean,
Yeah, it is.
14's the record, and they had 10. It's awfully
I believe
close.
they had 10. That's at least what the guy on WSBT said. So if he's wrong, then it was on him. So, but the Birdie Bogey question, going back to that, was Dennis Rodman is one of 3 players in NBA history to win multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards and multiple NBA championships. Who are the other 2 players?
I don't know if they had this award back in the day, but I'm going to go Bill Russell.
Well, no, you're wrong. They started the award in 82. Hopefully that helps you out. So I'll give you a mulligan.
I'm definitely wrong. Akeem Olajuwon, did he win too?
Yes, Akeem Olajuwon.
Did.
Yep.
My other one, I'm going to go with, and I don't know who with, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No, good guess though. How about Kawhi Leonard?
Oh, didn't even think about Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yep. So, my dad guessed Jordan, but Jordan only won the Defensive Player of the Year 1 time.
Just one time.
So, yep.
That's a good question.
Yeah. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Tan and J Man Show. Thanks for watching on the IC Sports Network. Thanks for listening wherever you're listening to your favorite podcasts at. If it's Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and a review. We really appreciate that. Helps us out a lot. And we'll be back next Monday for another episode of the Tan and J Man Show. Have a great week, everybody. And more importantly, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay sane.